Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Salamun alaikum. It's William Saafir, your host, all the way from the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. And want to welcome all of our listening audience, our learners, instructors, senior instructors, and executive senior instructors, all to today's class, the online university learning course. We are in great anticipation, like always, of a very enlightening and expansive, that's the word that comes to me right now, conversation that we're anticipating for our class today, being led by International Instructor Benjamin Bilal. We had quite a warm-up session just a few hours ago. Our brother Nadim Haq really got my intellectual juices to flowing, and as a scholar himself, a person who's a scientist, and was really exercising those mental muscles. I know mine anyway. As Allah would have it, I had just spent most of the morning studying the subject matter, and I had no idea that international instructor would surprise us today with a guest speaker like that. But I'd spend most of the morning looking deep into the whole science of physics, and so it was very timely for me. I had a lot of questions. I could have spent the whole hour and a half just myself asking questions based upon just what I had studied this morning. But I really enjoyed the conversation. Inshallah, God willing, those of you who weren't able to attend, those notes will be shared on YouTube, inshallah. But nevertheless, we are grateful to be in your company. We have one of our co-learners, instructors, that will be sharing with us in just a few moments. And we're thankful that Allah has blessed us with such bright minds, bright souls that we have in our midst, willing to open and share and do the research and present and share what Allah has blessed them with in terms of knowledge, insight, and experience. And certainly we've gotten that from our brother Kariem-Abdul Salaam in the past, and we're anticipating the same level of sharing in just a few moments. Brother Waliyuddin is scheduled to share with us next week, and maybe I will even have a chance as well. We'll see what happens with that. But we've been put in a very blessed situation where we have very qualified people amongst us who's willing to share, who's willing to push the envelope, if you will, and to help us all open up to being guided by our source creator. So with that, if our brother is ready, Brother Kariem-Abdul Salaam, we are ready for your introductory remarks to our class today. And we'll be followed, of course, by international instructor to do part two. Again, I'm very anxious to hear part two of about a timely subject matter, our human constitution. So look forward to that. If you have not gotten your writing materials ready and available, be sure and do that. Pencil, pen, paper, whatever you need to make good, copious notes. And you want to have that handy as you listen to Instructor Kariem right here, because I'm sure he has some very valuable insights to share with us as well. So, my brother, I'll pass the talking stick to you if you're ready for it.
Sir, Salaam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
No, I had gotten a text earlier that Wali would be presenting before me, and I don't know if he's planning to do that or should I just go ahead?
Go ahead. Uh, the way I understand at this point, that's been changed. Wali will actually share with us on the following Sunday.
Okay, alhamdulillah, thank you.
Mhm.
Again, Salaam alaikum to my fellow instructors. I want to thank Instructor Bilal, as well as William and the whole group for this opportunity to share with you concerning some of the things that I've been able to find out uh, really about the brain, the human brain and how it ties into Quranic insights. And so before I get started, I just want to ask a question. And I had used this before with some of my students. It's a riddle that was used in the past. They said to get into Egypt. And they says, what is it that starts out on 4, then on 2, and ends up on 3? So I don't know if anybody can jump right in with that who may be familiar with it, but you please feel free to do so.
Man.
Yes, thank you. Sister Arlene, right? Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the man. So he starts out on 4 as an infant, and then he develops into an adolescent or man where he balances himself and walks on 2. And then once he reaches old age, he relies on 3. That's his 2 legs on a cane for support. And I wanted to use that to just try to get us in the mindset of not just thinking about these things literally, but also to look at the underlying meanings for these things because they do have an application. I have a PowerPoint I'd like to share. Okay, well, let me take time, as an instructor used to say, to bring Allah into this conversation. I'm saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And this actually is saying with Allah's signature, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. And I'm using the 2 of these because of this whole idea of me presenting came about through Instructor Bilal's presentation on Rahman, ar-Rahman, ar-Rahim. And as he was closing that last session, he introduced an ayat that contained the Khalifatan. And I'm adding this term called Mukhlasina just to include what I ran up on in my research. So, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, he says, according to Instructor Bilal, merciful benefactor is in identifying Allah, his signature, which signature is a sign of identification. He says that it's the what, describes what Allah is, merciful benefactor. And there's ayats in the Quran that mentions Allah being so merciful that he gives benefits that can't even be counted. So, of course, that goes right with merciful benefactor. And then Ar-Rahim, merciful redeemer, is the who Allah is. Who is Allah? He's a merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. The successor in Khalifatan means the successor that leads from the rear, And I intend to tie all of this in during my short presentation here. And as a reference, a Quranic reference, look at Surah 2, the ayat is 30. And in Mukhlasina is normally translated as the sincere ones, the sincere, purified ones. And in Surah 15, ayat 40, this is where you will find that particular ayat and its explanation, saying that he's actually talking about not only sincere ones. Now, I'm a student of Imam W.D. Muhammad. I followed him since 1975. And one of the things that he said, he gave a different, or I would say more enhanced definition of mukhlasi. And of course, it does mean pure, sincere. But he says it also means those who follow the logic to its logical conclusion. And this is what I want to bring in today to help us understand this portion of the brain that we have been discussing, that I brought into the discussion at the end of the session on Rahman and Rahim. Now, what I intend to show you is how this term corpus callosum, or some people pronounce it callosum, I hear it more often pronounced as colossum. Corpus callosum is a part of the brain that connects the left side to the right side, the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. So it runs right down the middle of that particular portion of the brain. And what I found out in my research is that it allows activation of the subconscious mind and helps in improving the cognitive skills of the person, which include memory. And Instructor Bilal went on to explain in our session last week, genetic memory, perception, and creativity. I wanted to bring this illustration of the triune brain in just to make a point of where this particular portion of the brain is located. And it's located in the limbic system, which is where the memory takes place, all memory. And as Instructor Bilal says, also genetic memory, which is very, very important for us to understand. And to tie all of this in, I just want to focus on the proto-root level connection. So when we look at the word Rahman and Rahim, we have the R-H, or the Ra, and the Kha. That's the hard H sound. And we see it's consonantally connected to the Ka and the Lam. The Ka and the Lam. So what is it that connects these? We know that Ra and Lam come from an area of the mouth. They are called liquids because they both, to pronounce them, your tongue has to reach the roof of the mouth. So because they both come from that area of the mouth, they are consonantally connected. When we look at Ha and Ka, we see that these are guttural sounds. Guttural sounds, and because they both come from that area of the mouth, the gutter of the mouth, or the throat, we say that they are also consonantally connected. And anytime we find those consonantly connected sounds, we know that they have like or similar meanings. So I say that to say be on the lookout, or be thinking about what those meanings are. What are those like meanings? Also, I'm sorry. Okay, somebody had a comment? Okay, moving forward.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Please mute yourself if you're not if you don't have a question or a comment. So I'm not sure whose mic is open, but we appreciate it if you would just mute your mics so that we can get through this presentation. Okay. So corpus callosum or callosum. When we look at the two proto-root letters in corpus, we get the CR. The CR, which we know is constantly connected to this lamb that we find in Khalifa. We see the same connection in callosum. The C and the L are both connected to each other, right? So also when I introduced that term muculacina, when you look at callosum or callosum, you will see that that is consonantly connected with the root letters. Ka, lam, sing. Ka, lam, sing. Okay, now I put this illustration up again to show you just where that corpus callosum is located in this side view of the human skull or the human brain. Okay. Now let's talk briefly about the power of Khalifatan. Khalifa is consonantly connected to the word clap. And let me share this because this is what put me on the road to even looking at this. And I started this, I guess it must have been back in December of 2023. It was just before international instructor, Benjamin Bilal visited Memphis at the institution where I worked. He did an excellent presentation as well as presentation video shots. We did 5 of them, and I have them on the website now. Excellent, excellent presentations. But what I found out is that during the month of December, I had a lot of tragedy. I actually lost a grandson to gun violence and had some other members of the family to pass away. And during the course of that time, I was visiting those churches that they belong to attend those services. And I started to notice something in common. Almost every pastor who was speaking tried to encourage clapping from the people in attendance. And he would say, let's give God a clap, you know, and the whole audience would join in with claps, you know. So I started thinking, I said, what is it? What is it about these claps? You know, so I Googled, what's the esoteric meaning of clapping? The esoteric meaning of clapping. I didn't know what I was going to find, but that's what led me to look at this corpus callosum, because it indicated that clapping actually activates the subconscious mind. I didn't realize that at first, but that was interesting to me. So it made me think, was somebody in that persuasion, that Christian persuasion, obviously knew something about the mind, you know, and because I see it all the time. Anytime I'm in a crowd with Christians at their places of worship, it's that advocating clapping. So clapping, I found out, is a significant benefit, you know, for accessing and activating the subconscious mind of the person. Now, this could be good or bad. That's what I thought about. I said, now, what if you activate the person's subconscious mind and you drop something in there that's not quite right, you know? And then you would be controlling that person through their subconscious mind, but with evil intent. But just like it could be for evil intent, accessing the subconscious mind could be for good intent. I remember Imam Muhammad mentioning at one point that he was going to start addressing us through our subconscious mind, as opposed to trying to convince us of things through our conscious mind. Now, in this research, I found that when a person joins hands, his or her hands together to clap, their left and right hands get connected, which in connection activates the corpus callosum. Now, it was not my intention to find this kind of information, but it was certainly beneficial. So think about that, the hand clap. The hand clap actually activates your subconscious mind. So I have to give Unetics all the credit for helping me to see these connections and also to build my confidence. So let's look at Ham, which we call Al-Fatiha. The very first chapter in the Holy Quran, it says, if you look at the left side of this page, you'll see the 7 ayats. 7 ayats. Now, being a student of Imam Muhammad, I purchased his book, Commentary on Selected Verses of the Quran. I don't know if you have that book, but you should get it if you don't have it. And in this book, Imam Muhammad encouraged us to make 7 stops when reciting this surah. 7 stops. Now, the overall context of his conversation was really about the twinning of these verses. You know, the tradition and the scholars, they tell us that Al-Fatiha is a twin surah. So when you recite, something happened here. Let me get back to sharing. So when you recite Al-Fatiha, you're actually reciting not just 7, but 14 ayat. And this is according to the scholars. And Imam Muhammad went on to share that information with us in this book. And he said that we should, he rearranged the way we should recite it. And I'm going to share that with you just briefly because of these 2 terms, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. So he pronounces it, the first stop, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, stop. Now, what's the purpose of stopping? He didn't say this in the book, but I believe it's stop and reflect. Stop and reflect. This is the second stop. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, if you notice, here he joined these 2 ayats, 2 and 3. So he changed the way, rearranged the way we should recite it. So my question was, what's the benefit, what's the logic behind this stop? The second stop actually put more emphasis on Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim before it cut off. So the stopping and the reflection takes place at that point. The third stop, Maliki Yawmiddin. The fourth stop, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. The fifth stop, Ihdina siratal mustaqim. So there's a stopping, there's also reflection. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Stop and reflect. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim walid dallin. And this Darlene has a strong matter over the top of it, as you can see, which means to hold it for an extended amount of beats and the reflection there. So we would normally translate going, not just going astray, but going way, way astray. Okay. So again, I want to share that with you from Imam Muhammad's book, that Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and that Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I noticed that the brother this morning talked about that ham. I was kind of differing with him as he was speaking when he said that the ham can be faked. I was so glad to hear Benjamin Bilal present his view on that. And I'm not going to just say correct him, because that's just his thinking. He got the right to think like he thinks. But I had heard Imam Muhammad say that term, Alhamdulillah, is enough to hold up the whole universe. Just that strong. You know, so I had special likings for the way that he described it, and from the way Instructor Benjamin Bilal also upholds that point. Now, that whole context for the surahs also is about the seven oft repeated. Imam Muhammad put a focus on those verses, but it never said oft repeated verses. So here are another seven that's oft repeated. And this is the energies that travel up and down our spine in our chakras, the chakra energies. So I think that they have a place as well, a strong, strong place, and may even align themselves with those seven stops in Al-Fatiha. I'm still doing research on that, but I wanted to bring that out to you. So let's look at clap. That clap is constantly connected with Khalifa. So clapping is not just a way of showing appreciation. It's more than that. And it's not really just a ritualistic routine for those who have a higher understanding. Clapping is one of the most powerful exercises which has scientific as well as common benefits. Now let's look at some of them. It includes setting up the acupuncture points. Now some of y'all may be familiar with acupuncture, but this term is correct, acupressure. And then what it does is release endorphins in the body of a human being. What are endorphins? Endorphins are those things in the body that are released to help you have happiness, calmness, enjoyment. So we're asking you to keep clapping, especially now since we understand it's a way to keep yourself happy and healthy at the same time. Now I know that there's a verse in the Quran that talks about disbelievers saying that they're clapping, their attention at the Kaaba was more like whistling and clapping of hands. But that doesn't mean they were not saying anything about clapping in a negative way. It was talking about people who were not sincere, and whatever they were doing had no real impact. So let's keep that in mind, that clapping, it produces those acupressure points to release endorphins in your hand throughout your body, as well as tapping into your subconscious mind. So So they help relieve pain, they reduce stress, they improve your well-being. Endorphins are created in your pituitary gland. We know about the pituitary gland because that's also where the pineal gland is located. And the hypothalamus, both located in the brain. Endorphins are a type of neurotransmitter or a messenger in your body. So acupressure rather is similar to acupuncture, but the person used these fingers instead of needles to work the point. I took the liberty to just put a diagram of where some of these points are in the hand. And as you can see, the pineal has a point. The brain itself has a point. Sinuses have a point, you know. So these are very, I think this information is very interesting. And what it tells me is how we can actually access the corpus callosum through very distinct points on the hand and in the body. Now, it's something that young children, unlike adults, use both sides of their brain to learn language. I thought this was very interesting and really kind of aligned itself with Brother Muhammad's presentation last week when he discussed his experience with learning to read and all of those things, where this corpus callosum can actually assist in those areas by doing certain exercises. One thing I didn't know about the children is that the process of crawling that they go through, we mentioned about that riddle, how children start out on 4, it's a very crucial point in their ability to learn language. Infants and young children have brains with superpower or sorts, according to Georgetown University Medical Center neuroscientists. I think this is very important for us to understand. We should learn it and pass it on. Now, so adults process discrete neural tasks in specific areas, and one or the other of their brains, 2 hemispheres, while youngsters use both the right and the left hemispheres to do the same thing. Now, I know that children are said to learn volumes of information by the time they reach 7, 8, 9 years of age. And this is part of why they have the ability to do so, because they are accessing both sides of their brain via the corpus callosum. This diagram kind of shows us from year to year. So from 4.7 years, these brain scans show that the child is actually using both sides of the brain for learning and processing information. So they're able to do quite a bit, learn quite a bit in that age bracket. You think about it, from 1 to 5 years, a child learns a tremendous amount of information. When they reach 8 years old, they're still operating out of both sides of the brain, but it's not as much. It's diminished somewhat. And at 11.4 years, they're operating out of both sides of the brain, but diminished even more. But by the time they reach 19 years of age, they're only operating out of one side, as you can see in the illustration here. So what can be done? What can adults do to learn more or to help them learn more? I got an exercise that I'm going to share with you and this is developed by neuroscientists. It's called the cross crawl. I'm sharing this with you to let you know that it's not hopeless. Allah, so masterful in the way he created the human being. You know, he gives us in the biology of our system ways to keep us learning. You know, I had always considered myself a lifelong learner, and now I can use these methods to actually help me do it even better. In almost all adults, sinus processing is possibly only in the left hemisphere, according to both brain scanning research and clinical findings of language loss in persons who suffer a left hemisphere stroke. And I know that's something that we see more and more at a younger age. I have two stepsons. Both of them have had many strokes. And this tells me that even they can get more help through using these techniques. Now that we understand how to activate the corpus callosum, there's a lot more we can do to help. Please just let me know if you can't hear this, but I wanted you to see this short example of an exercise called the cross crawl that can help you in understanding how to activate the corpus callosum.
This exercise is called the cross crawl. The cross crawl is used to synchronize both hemispheres of the brain. There are 3 different methods of doing cross crawl. The first method you can do is go to starting position, and you're going to take your left hand and you're going to cross over and touch your right knee as your right hand swings behind you. Return to starting position. From this point, you're going to take your right hand, cross over and touch your left knee as your left hand swings behind you. You're going to do this exercise for about 1 to 2 minutes or 30 repetitions on both sides. The second method for cross crawl, you can go to starting position. You're going to take your left elbow and touch it to your right knee as your right arm swings behind you. And then you're going to take your right elbow, touch it to your left knee as your left arm swings behind you. You do 1 to 2 minutes worth of exercises for this, or you do 30 repetitions on both sides. The last method is go to starting position, and you're going to swing your left leg behind you, raise your left leg behind you. You're going to touch your right, with your right hand you're going to touch your left ankle, return to starting position. Then take your left hand and touch your right ankle, and do this exercise for 1 to 2 minutes or 30 repetitions on both sides.
And I can see, you know, how this can be very, very helpful to adults, you know, especially aging adults. And those type of exercises don't take a lot of strenuous movement, but it's something that can actually help your thinking ability and by accessing that corpus callosum and activating your subconscious mind. So here's another one. I researched and saw this particular one it's actually through a series of trainings called the Brain Gym. This Brain Gym integrates the whole brain, systems, and body with the aim of priming a person for academic excellence and mental clarity. It involves a series of 26 movements that mimic actions learned in the first few years of life. Now think about that. Activities that it is mimicking activities that the normal child learns in the first few years of his life. 2 patterning techniques and a goal-setting process for optimal learning and living. So these are not, these conditions that we see all around us, we may not be experiencing them, but we may have loved ones who are experiencing them. We should pass this information on. And as we try to learn more and more through pneumatics, we can see how it could be very in those situations. So there's another individual training move called the brain button. The brain button. I want to introduce that one to you because it's not very difficult to do. And it's just a matter of us taking those practices and using them.
All right, the first exercise is called brain buttons. It increases the blood flow to the brain. You take your right hand with your middle finger and your thumb and go to your collarbone, about an inch below your collarbone. There's some indentations. It's a little tender to the touch. And then take your other hand and place it over your belly button. Once you get to this point, you just tap 20 times. After you've tapped 20 times, you switch hands. Do the same thing with your left hand. You're going to take your thumb and your middle finger, place it on those tender spots, and your other hand, place it over your belly button and tap 20 times.
Okay, so we can see these are not very difficult exercises to do. I was reading a book, it's called Smart Moves. And in this book, this lady made reference to a young child who was 6 years old. And after he had reached 6 years old, he still didn't know how to read. And they didn't know what they could do to help him. But eventually, they introduced that brain button as exercise as well as the previous exercise. And in less than a year, the child was reading at grade level. You know, so these particular exercises have been proven to work, and all we need to do is just keep going.
All right, the first exercise is called brain buttons. It increases
and trying to learn as much as we can about these processes. I'm going to cut my presentation short at this point. I didn't want to go on and on, but I wanted to give you some information that you could take with you that was useful in our attempt to improve our learning ability, even at what I call old age, because I'm in that bracket now. I know we have a lot of young minds here, so it could really help you even better extend your learning capabilities. So I'm going to cut off here and end with the greeting, Salaam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Brother, thank you very, very much. I'm hopeful that everyone has appreciated those remarks, at sharing that research, that very practical, very pragmatic approach to this research that we're doing. You know, we have to find a way to utilize as much as we're learning. That's extremely important, to use it. And as you get it, try to use it. You know, I've even heard that there's something as simple, first thing in the morning when you brush your teeth, if you're used to brushing your teeth with your right hand, then just switch up and start using your left hand.
Yeah.
Make that a habit first thing in the morning. Now you're using both sides of your brain, right? There's so many things we can do, you know, if we learn about this wonderful human body, especially the way this brain operates, you know, not to mention our nervous system and how it connects and affects our whole physical constitution. We're talking about the human constitution in just a few moments with an international instructor, or with the our human body. It's a magnificent piece of artwork that Allah has created, you know, and we should get to know it and show appreciation for it. So gratitude for learning about it and then utilizing it to its fullest. So, brother, thank you. I mean, I learned so much in just those few minutes. Yeah, yeah. So,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
I would like to say from Imam Adib Abdullah to the present presenter, for me, you knocked it out the box, brother. You knocked it out the box. And I'm serious. And for you to be one of, of my classmates. I said, man, I hope I can get to do it like that one day. I'm seriously, alhamdulillah, shukran jazilan. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam with you. Thank you.
Yeah, praise be to Allah. I don't know what we're looking like time wise, but I'll go ahead and pass the talking stick on to International Instructor. And if he wants to take a few more comments, he's welcome to do that, of course. Yes.
Go right ahead.
Yes, salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
From where I stand, it's outstanding, and it helped me a great deal. And I do exercise at home. And sometimes I go to the mall, and when the weather's conducive, I walk on the Mississippi levee. But in the sun, I ain't going. But the brother gave a powerful presentation. If it reached me where I am, then good God Almighty, it's good. And well, it helped me a great deal. Yeah, salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated, especially from our seniors. Much appreciated. Anyone else? Feel free to comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Wally, you have to do something different with how you're coming in. There's an echo. Yeah. There are other people whose mics are open, I think.
I'm getting feedback now.
A little bit, but I think we can handle it.
Yes, we are class here, and we have truly enjoyed that presentation for the Green. It was very useful, and just thank you. On behalf of everybody in the class, we enjoyed it.
Indeed.
Alhamdulillah, great.
Tremendously. All right. If you're going to speak, come in quick. Time is on us. Anyone else? This is your time to encourage each other. This is what you're going to be doing sooner or later. Alaikum salam.
Okay, what I was saying that the human mind, you suppose it's
Oh, no.
so, and I understand about
Hassan, you need to silence your phone. Mute your phone,
I thought
Hassan.
my phone was off. Excuse me.
Yeah. You got it? Okay, continue, Muhammad. Muhammad, continue. You still there? Going once, going twice. Right. William, you can jump back in and pass me the mic.
Okay. Yes. I think Amina has something to say. I see Kariem-Abdul Salaam. I see your
She's
mic
still
is
there?
open.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Assalamu alaikum.
Amina, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, the presentation was excellent. I remember as a teenager and a young girl doing some of those exercises. And even when children in kindergarten, they're teaching the ABCs and things, we clapping our hands and things like that. And that's how they get those things into our subconscious, how we learn that,
Yes.
clapping hands and things like that. So it was very, very good. I enjoyed the presentation.
Beautiful. Thank you for those wonderful comments. Yeah, I remember that. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And the African American church experience is full of hand clapping.
Sure, yeah.
Syncopated rhythm, they call it. Clapping between the beats. Yeah. All right. Thank you for those comments. Anyone else? William, take it away.
All right. Again, we thank Allah for this class. I mean, you might not see it like I do. This is such a blessing.
I know exactly what you mean.
Hey, man, to have these bright minds, and as willing to share and dig deep and prepare. I mean, there's no greater blessing than this, and it's our time under the sun. We're answering the prayers of 400 years, y'all.
Yes.
From the very first slave that landed on the shores and ended up on plantations. They were wanting to get to this point. Their souls were crying out for full expression, and we're entering upon that time right now. Well, again, where we have right among us, we have these bright souls, bright minds that are willing to take the time and prepare and share their best, and it's nothing. I was listening to this our brother, his name was Nadim, right? Your brother that
Yes,
just,
yes.
yeah,
Nadim Hawk. Yes.
yeah, Nadim Haq. Now here's a brother who's thoroughly prepared, a scientist, who has written a book on equilibrium, of all things, as a scientist, as a research scientist, and he is listening to our international instructor who barely got a high school diploma. Good. I mean, so Allah has answered our prayer. That's my point. Our collective prayers with each other. So we want to just applaud each other as we come forth and give our best. When it's your turn and any or all of you are ready, just a matter of doing a little research, pulling your thoughts together, organizing them somewhat, and trusting and just going ahead and sharing, especially those of you who've been around in the class for a long time. But even those who've just come through the door, Allah has positioned you here for a reason. So this is no greater experience than I can even imagine. So looking forward right now to conversation about our human construction. And just before, in case time runs out, let me share now. Inshallah, God willing, next Sunday we're going to spend a period of time while he has a presentation to make, and time permitting, I'm going to present as well on helping us to prepare for the economic devastation in the global economy that we're experiencing, and we'll be getting the brunt of it right here in America. That's right at our door, if it's not already at your door, in your fridge, as they call it, in your refrigerator, where you can barely buy a dozen eggs anymore. So I'm going to be sharing some very pragmatic and very practical ways of how you can begin to not only handle your finances, but build wealth as well, inshallah, on if not next Sunday, the Sunday after. With that, I'm gladly pass over the talking stick.
All right, accepted. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And let me also thank this wonderful, wonderful mind amongst us, Kariem-Abdul Salaam, for that magnificent presentation. There are a lot of gems that he's just strewn all around. All you gotta do is reach out and grab one. You don't even have to take all of what he said. Just grab a few of the gems, and it'll keep you wealthy enough until you begin doing your own presentations. This is what it's all about. This is the encouragement that you need to step up, step out, and step in. Step into this Nunetics training, because this is what you're actually in it for, to be able to reproduce this information, but through your own brains, through your own sensitivities, through your own understanding. That's what this is all about. So thank you. I'm going to say a couple of words about his few words, and then we're going to move into our presentation for today. I believe at the beginning of his presentation, he spoke of the conclusion, the word conclusion. And as I've taught you to do, begin piecing words apart that seem to be too big to manage. If you take the word conclusion, take the con off, because that's a prefix. Take that C-O-N off of conclusion. That's a prefix. What you're left with is clusion. If you take the suffix off, which is the I-O-N, if I'm seeing this correctly. Yeah, the I-O-N. So now we're left with the C-L-U-S. All you have to do at this point is remove all vowels and stay strictly with the consonants that are being presented. Now you're going to have the letters C, L, S, sort of like this class. C, L, S. However, if you're paying attention to the pronunciation of these consonants, you'll know that this particular C in conclusion is being pronounced as a K sound. Because in English, as you know, there's no such thing as a C. It's either K sound or S sound, like in the word circus. The first C sounds like an S. The second C, cuss, sounds like a K. There's no true C. C is a tricky letter. Won't get into what it means today. I've taught on it several times. Check the archives. But I'm bringing this up because you know the famous saying that goes, whatever you pay attention to, it expands. This is actually a principle in science. Our brother Nadim mentioned some things related to that idea today. Whatever you pay attention to expands. It's like you're on the highway and you see a particular license plate number or something, or the first three letters of a license plate. You might see those first three letters 2 or 3 times before that day is done, or maybe even on the next day. Why? Because the attention has the ability to bring things to you. It makes it expand before you. It gives it volume. There's nothing different being done. The cars didn't conspire to make sure that you saw their first 3 letters and that they were like the last 3 letters of the car. But I've seen cars with 2 or 3 cars in a row having the same letters. It's amazing. But this is how Allah teaches us. This is how Allah reinforces knowledge. But it only happens if you are paying attention. All right. So conclusion is one of those words that's related to all of the words that Kareem, that he introduced to us in his presentation. He spoke about the Khalifa. He spoke about the word clap, C-L-A-P. And he showed us how the word Khalifa and the word clap have interchangeable consonants within them. The KH in Khalifa interchanges with the K sounding clap. Khalifa, that li, lam sound, that L sound is the same as the L sounding clap. And he also told us that the P in the English word clap was interchangeable with the F sound in the word khalafa or khalifa, with the F and the P being what are called labials, words that you need one or both of your lips in order to pronounce. P is one of them, B is another one of them, V is another one of them, F is another one of them. They're called the labials or labials. So conclusion being related to Khalifa because of the Ka-la-sa sounding conclusion. That means that the Khalifa is going to have a theme somewhere buried within its meanings that reflect the idea of something being concluded. Ooh-wee! So now you go to your Quran, you go to the Mus'haf, and you start scrolling through to where the Khalifa is mentioned in Surah 7 or wherever it's mentioned, and look at what's being concluded. The leadership of the jinn is being concluded. Even the leadership of the so-called angels, the Malaik, that's being concluded in favor of the new kid on the block, so to speak, called the Khalifa, the newbie, the newborn, the one coming into his glory, if you will, right? So this is the benefit of studying this Nunetics method of consonantally connected words, letters and words as we're introducing them. And the conclusion of things that we're talking about with the introduction of the Khalifa fil Ard, they call him a caretaker in the earth. Some say custodian. You see? Yeah, when the custodian steps in, party's over. When the custodian steps in, he's ready to turn lights out on that big party where everybody's gotten drunk and stupid and sloppy and abusive and all of those other things that parties can bring about when people are not balanced. And this world, as we speak, is not a balanced world. Therefore, every time the situation calls for it, it's not any particular time in history, every 100 years, we've heard all of those things. But it's not talking about numbers in the sense of time and years gone by. It's talking conditionally about whenever the situation replicates itself, that called for that thing, that called for a Jesus, that called for Muhammad, that called for a Musa. Every time the conditions that you are reading about in the Quran surrounding those personalities, every time the situation presents itself anew, that personality, if you will, that prototype, or I like to say that template, reappears. It's always here lying dormant, but it takes the social circumstances to ignite the energy that brings that personality back. And it's not a physical person. It comes in and through physical people, but it in and of itself is not a physical person. I've seen Muhammad as a physical in history, yes. But what good can his flesh and blood body do to us in 2024, sitting here in the middle of America? What a waste that would be. People waiting on Jesus. Christians and Muslims sitting here waiting on a physical body that was here 2,000 or so years ago, so they say, even though the Bible doesn't say that, even though the Quran doesn't say 2,000 years ago. Jesus, 2,000 years is relative. 2,000 years from when? What was it 1,000 years ago? 1,000 years. So what's the big deal? Especially when you don't even know if he's coming back. So you got to stop looking at this fairy tale presentation of the deen that we've been sold as Muslims. Christians, you have to stop looking at that fairy tale version of religion that you have been sold through one of the wisest books to ever appear on planet Earth called the Bible. You're reading it incorrectly. Full of wisdom, but you can't see it because you've been taught the book by kindergarten teachers, many of whom are bent on keeping you in prison, called kindergarten, a kind of garden. They're bent on keeping you in that kind of garden because everything that grows in that garden, they make money off of. That's all they produce. They're producing your brain. They're producing your sensitivities. They're producing your ideology. They're producing your theology. That's the produce that's being produced through the manufactured garden being presented to you through the kindergarten language of your religion. And I'm including all religions when I say that. I'm not just picking on Christians. I'm not sidestepping the Jews to say that they have the untouched religion. No, all of these religious ideas have been touched by Shaitan or Satan. And Satan is not a kindergarten character. He's real. And the fire that Allah speaks about, that's also real. But you have to know how to identify these things. And once they're identified, you can see them clear as a bell. And then you know what to stay away from, and you know what to gravitate towards. Once your eyes have been opened to al-haq, the reality. Now, when you clap in a theater, some of us do it at the end of a movie. We went to the movies a couple of nights ago, and when it ended, we're only about 10 people in the whole theater, but everybody said the movie was so good. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but everybody clapped. See, the conclusion. It's the conclusion. At the end of the concert, we clap. So that kat la pa, kat la fa, kat la ba, no matter what letters you are interchanging, they're going to have something to do with the conclusion of something. If I club you in the head, that's the conclusion of consciousness for you. So you have to learn this level of deductive reasoning in order to compete with the brainiacs of this world. And that's what we're here to reinforce. We're not going to enforce anything, but if you're getting it, then our idea is to reinforce the goodness that you're getting out of these teachings. So with that said, let me pull up my notes. Now, remember also that the Khalifa, this is specifically for Instructor Kareem. And I'm telling you, man, that presentation was so fantastic. I can't wait for you to have your own Seedcast program. We're going to work on that more sooner than later. That presentation was worthy of any college or university in this country and probably in this world. that presentation he just gave. And if we had let him blow for another 20, 30 minutes, it would be worthy of awards in linguistics. He did a fantastic job, a splendid job, a magnificent job, a wonderful job. And I can't thank Allah enough for people like him. And he's not the only one in this class who's on that level of acumen. So pay very careful attention to Nunetics when it comes to your neighborhood. So those three consonants are also related to things that split, things that separate, split, separate, same letters, to things that are divided into half, the HALF is also related to the letters Ha, La, Fa, Ha, Fa, Lam, Lam, Fa, Fa. So when Allah mentions the Khalifa, he's mentioning only half of something. Oh, how beautiful this is. How do you know that, Instructor Bilal? Because I'm paying attention to the Huda. Allah says, wait a minute. Because the angels were, yak. I don't know who this new guy on the block is. Well, haven't we been doing okay? Obviously not. So Allah says, they said, are you going to make one who's going to, bring in mischief and shed the blood? That's the question that they supposedly asked Allah. Although Allah says in the Quran that angels cannot question. I'm trying to figure that one out. No, I know the meaning. You should be trying to figure that out. Allah says that the angels they do Allah's bidding without stint, without question. They don't have a nature to question Allah. So who are these angels that are, are you going to do this and that and the third while we over here making, sajda and ruku'ah and, calling yadan, and, those people. You're going to take us out of a position of leadership for this guy who's just going to mess up the world? He's just going to bloody stuff up. He's going to create war and famine and disturbances and turmoil and all of these things while we over here being angels. We're over here occupying the Pope's chair, the Pope's seat, and the head Rebbe of the major synagogues of the world, and the Grand Mosque in Jerusalem and in Mecca. We're over here occupying these positions, God, as your envoys. And you're going to bring in a dude from Harlem, from the south side of Chicago, from LA. You're going to bring in some Negro or some poor Pakistani looking guy or some poor Egyptian dude who ain't, he's not even known in his own house. And you're going to make him the leader over us. And Allah says, however, when I have breathed into him, you see the other half now? Nafakhatu, when I have given him of my nafakha, that action, when I have performed the action of nafakha, breathing. Even breathing is given in halves, isn't it? Breathe in, breathe out. When I have breathed into him of my ruh, translated erroneously as spirit, it's much more than what we're thinking about as spirit, but nevertheless. Allah said, then make sajda in his direction. Li Adam, towards Adam, in another place. Make sajda. I thought sajda was only for Allah. Yeah, if you make sajda towards Allah's man, then he wants to start cleaning up the confusion and cleaning up the turmoil and cleaning up the artificial world that has been created. Yeah. Then you have to turn in submission towards that energy. It's not a physical move. It's more a psychological move. So it also represents half. If you look at the word corpse with its C-O-R-P connection, corpse, we generally recognize a corpse as a dead body. Well, how is that half of anything? because the life of this world has left, but the body is still here. And the body and its spiritual component has gone somewhere else. It's being recognized in another realm, see? So the life has been split. We can go on for days like this. Nunetics is oh man, it's our Superman, it's our Superwoman, it's our super child. If you just pass on the logic. Right? So that's just food for thought. Even the words that he used, he didn't understand that Allah put those words in his mouth when he started teaching on the corpus callosum. Even those words are related to Khalifa. Hey, Kareem, yeah, buddy. And this is how Allah teaches us. He just reinforces the truth that he is depositing upon your soul. And he does that throughout the language environment that you think you are choosing, but in reality, Allah is teaching all of us, as he says in the Quran. So let's move on here. All righty then. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday, August 11th, 2024. I am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, delving into the part 2 topic of our human constitution. Now, be very patient. It's Sunday. It's still pretty early in the day. And the information that I have for you today is so spot on that you're not going to want me to stop, at least not anytime soon. If you're home cooking, put on your headphones. If you're home with a laptop, bring it into the kitchen if you have to start cooking. And turn it up. Now, what does the English word constitution mean? The word constitution, according to the online etymology dictionary, which is free online, etymology online dictionary, it represents law, regulation, edict, body of rules, customs, or laws. It represents establishment. Very important words for you to write down and look up and study. And it also represents the act of settling, settled condition. Anything arranged or settled upon. A regulation, an order, an ordinance. A noun of state, very important word because that word is suggested in the word constitution. The word state is suggested within the word itself. Look for smaller words within bigger words. To set in order. To form something new, to resolve. Then you'll go on from there to look up the word constitute. All created things have constitutions. These structures are based on the foundation responsible for the upkeep of the edifice itself. So whenever you're looking at a constitution of something, they're going to be based on a particular foundation. So the human constitution is also based on a foundation. Let's look at what those are. The human constitution consists of many components. Here are some of the components. The human constitution consists of the physical body, which is the biology, the DNA structure, the blood, and other things. The human mind consists of the instinctive drives, the instincts, the emotions, and also the thinking capacity. All of that is a part of the human mind. Those are components of the human constitution. We also have what they're calling spirit. Doesn't mean Casper the Friendly Ghost. Spirit is actually indicative of your magneto-electric energies. You may have heard them as electromagnetic energies, and that's only because the sexist, chauvinist scholars of this world like to always put the masculine first. And the masculine is the electro. So they say electromagnetic, but the true order is the magneto-electric. The feminine principle, the magnetism that pulls things towards itself like women do. Brother almost broke his neck looking at that one. And electricity, which tends to push things out away from itself into the distance. And this is what the male energy does. The female, even the female sex organ invites things into itself, whereas the male sex organ pushes things out. It pushes its own organ out, and then it puts out into the womb the substance that can very well become responsible for new life. So that magneto-electric energy is a part of your spirit. When the Quran or when the Bible is speaking about spirit, this is particularly what it is talking about. It's not talking about some ephemeral something that you know, like in the movie Ghosts, you know, whatever, Whoopi Goldberg, whatever you've been looking at. It's not talking about that. It's talking about real properties that Allah has created in the world that can be studied, not always because you can see them physically. Everything in the world was not meant to be observed on that level of physicality. But if you study enough, if you absorb yourself into information and bring that information to yourself and study it over, not just once, not just twice, but over and over again, Allah asked the question, do they not yatadabbaru al-Quran? Do they not ponder consistently, deeply al-Quran? That's the only way you're going to know how to separate what is real from what is not real. The false information from the reality of the information. Because people who want to set you up as their pawns, as their sheeple, when you should be people, they're going to create a language for you that is going to eventually destroy you. The Quran came to not only save us, but to preserve us. And there are also energies in this human constitution represented in the pineal gland. Some people say pineal, doesn't matter. Pineal gland activation. We'll show you where that is in a moment. In what is called the aura, which I'm sure all of you have heard about by now. And also its related field of energy called the torus field. These are actually both connected. Aura, torus field. All right. And this is just an artist's depiction of where these energies reside. You have the pineal gland in the center of the brain, in those energies. You have the aura exuding this apple-shaped kind of design. And if you stretch your arms out, you're going to see the width pretty much of your aura, the auric energies around you, usually from 3 feet to even 6 feet, depending on your level of energy. And then you have the smaller circumference that we're referring to now as your torus field. And it has energies that come up out of the heart region. They go around, if you're following my cursor, they circle back up. You come around and then they circle back up, just like the number 8 if it were laid on its side horizontally. All right. Now, all life flows through the human spine. So we're talking about that spine again, right? All right. All life, not some life, not most life, all life flows through the human spine. Esotericists refer to the spine as the book of life. That's mentioned in the Bible, the book of life. The energies within the spine are designed by our source creator to oscillate, to flow upwards and downwards. That's what oscillate means. And they do that in the same manner as Jacob in the Bible, who went up and down, what they call Jacob's ladder. He was oscillating. And he eventually ended up near a stone at a place called the Peniel. Sound familiar? This is where they are hiding the sciences, my friends. Peniel is obviously referring to the pineal or the pineal gland. That stone. And even in the word oscillate, if you've been following the Nunetics method, you'll know that this SCL sound is consonantally connected to the SLT sound in salat. Oscillate, I should have included this T here. Oscillate, salat. And what is salat designed to do as energies? Go up and down your spine as energies from the lowest level of the energy, called the root chakra energy, all the way to the top where the pineal gland exists, called the crown chakra. So from the root chakra up to the crown chakra is how these energies oscillate. Most people's energies, they go down. I'll show you how that is depicted. And they never come back up. And when they stay down towards the root chakra, they do nothing but focus on survival and their belly needs, their stomach, their physical needs, their sexual pleasures. That's where the majority of planet Earth is right now. They are just bathing in the first three chakras and that energy. Ask the average brother on the street who's selling drugs, yo, why are you selling drugs in your own neighborhood? Yo, I gotta eat, yo. My children, man, they gotta eat. Yo, my wife, man, she gotta look good when she come out, man. And I ain't got no job and I can't get no job, so I'm gonna have to hit somebody in the head to get what I need. See, personal. Now in Genesis, we're talking the book called the Bible now. In Genesis 32:30, in the New King James Version, you can look at any version, doesn't matter. It says, so Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. Now, he did this after climbing that ladder that we spoke about. They call it Jacob's ladder. And he had to wrestle with an angel. You see the angel here? He had to, that's Jacob. He had an angel blocking him from making it up to that particular level of access. And he wrestled through the angels. Oh man, I think it says that the angel threw Jacob's thigh bone out of place. So he had to limp from that point on. But he defeated the angel. And in other exegesis of the Bible, it says that the angel was actually God. So here they're telling us that Jacob defeated God. So much for the Jacobite scheme that I used to teach on and that Imam Muhammad introduced to us. Jacob is not a man in history. Jacob is a concept that is used and employed over and over again by all people who choose to scheme on the weak, the susceptible. So look at the reason why he called that place Peniel. He said, for I have seen God face to face and my life is preserved. So anybody who actually visualizes what's in this area called the Peniel, which I'm telling you is the pineal, they're saying that that's the equivalent of seeing God. Now, I know better than that. That's foolish. But this God is not the God that we think it is. This God simply means powers and forces. You're able to access powers and forces face to face. Same Bible tells you that you can't see God face to face. It says Moses swooned when he asked to see God face to face. So be careful of the contradictions. That's what Allah says, that if you deeply ponder the Quran, there won't be any discrepancies like that will overtake you. So look at these pictures very quickly. This is the depiction of Jacob's ladder. Jacob, the angel. Now look at what's called the caduceus that they use in the medical industry, minus the wings, I believe. But they have the two serpents going up the pole, twin serpents. The wings represent ascension, that which goes higher and higher, that which spirals, because it's referring to human spirit. That magneto-electric energy we just got finished speaking about. The dualism inherent in nature. Yeah. That pole is indicative of your spine, your spinal column. That part exactly at the top is indicative of your pineal stone. And they're giving it to us whether you realize it or not in the depiction of the crucified Christ. Those two arms stretched out represent the same thing as the two wings that stretch out to fly, that have been curtailed with nails in the hands and into the feet. What does nail mean? Nail means that they were able to drive whatever that nail represents past the top portion, past the top layer of your flesh, meaning your sensitivities, and go beneath the flesh in order to keep you stuck. In psychology, they call it the art of subliminal seduction, going beneath the conscious mind, subliminal, in order to manipulate you to the point where you believe those are your thoughts and they're not your thoughts. They're the thoughts of the people who have designed the psychology that enables you to be manipulated. So you become spiritually crucified. Moving on. As I have mentioned in previous classes, the crucifixion of Christ represents the calcification of the pineal gland's potential. Look at the consonantal connections. The C in crucify is the C in calcify. The R in crucify interchanges linguistically with the L. The R and the L are interchangeable in all languages. The C in calcify is the same C in crucify, and the F in calcify is the same F in crucify. Calcify, crucify, it's the same word, basically. So the crucifixion of Christ that they give us in religion is actually speaking on a spiritual level about the calcification of the true Christ operating at your crown chakra. You get it? They put on Jesus's head a crown of thorns that again went beneath the surface level of your flesh, penetrated into the regions of your head and allowed you to begin bleeding out. Are you going to make one who's going to create mischief and shed the blood? These so-called angels asked Allah. And Allah has said, in other words, it doesn't matter because I'm going to send a custodian right after that to clean that mess up. You see all the mess in the world right now? Don't worry about it on that level because Allah has another person ready to come up to bat. You're looking at the pitch hitter. You think that's the main guy on my team? Allah said, no, the Caliph is just here to kind of clean it up and let you advance a little bit down the line, down the road. He ain't the main guy. The main guy that Allah wants to put up to bat is called Muhammad. The Khalifa is just a cleanup batter. You get it? Khalifa, custodian, cleanup. But we got to get this calcification from around your pineal first. Can't go out in the world looking all calcified, all mummified. So the pineal gland, you'll see this in the replay. You can stop it and look at all of the things that are written here. But essentially, as Kareem was able to show you, this brain is just a magnificent organ created by the source creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it has these very particular components that do very, very specific things. Kareem spoke about the cerebellum. Mhm. The cerebellum, it also coordinates muscle control. But the very important parts are the pituitary gland, that's feminine, and the pineal gland that we just spoke of, that's masculine. The pituitary gland and its partner, if you will, the pineal gland. Then you have the brain stem. See, that's the same as that board of wood going down so-called Jesus's back. That's the same as this pole going down in a way which allows these two interlocking energies to rise. Then you have the spinal cord, that brain stem, which is an offshoot of the cerebellum. And listen, cere, C-E-R-E, just really represents covering something over. Just covering something over as a protection. It's the bellum you need to understand. Bellum means warfare. Once again, angels saying to Allah, are you going to make someone who's going to make mischief and shed the blood? That's warfare. Isn't that the talk of the town right now? All across the United States government and other places, Syria and all kinds of, all over the world now. There is war and rumors of war, as the Bible puts it. The Quran comes to clear all of this up. Cerebellum. There's warfare going on there. What's the most important aspect of the cerebellum? It is actually a longer lasting memory bank than the one found in the limbic brain. This is the limbic brain. And the limbic brain controls memory and emotion. But the emotions in the limbic brain are sort of temporary. The memory in the limbic brain is actually more temporary memory. The memory in the cerebellum, however, oh man, that's genetic memory. Give you another one, Kareem. That's where your genetic memory is found. Long lasting, even things that you can remember before you were born because it's in your DNA. It was passed on to you through your blood. Once again, are you going to make one who's going to make mischief and shed the blood? You're gonna is he gonna get rid of this potential? Allah said, no, I'm not getting rid of that potential. They're gonna need that. They're gonna need to remember. They're gonna be over there doing some serious dhikr when I'm finished, trying to tap into that universal cosmic memory bank that will bring them all back to their human senses, back to their original constitution. So when you look over here to the right, you see what ancient Egypt captured as an image because they studied the brain meticulously in ancient Egypt. So what you thought was just a single eye, or some people call the third eye, is more than that. It was actually a physical representation of this area of the brain. And the pineal, as you can see, sits right behind it. Protected by the rest of this structure. And the pineal gland, that organ, it's actually an organ and a gland. The pineal gland is the only part of the human brain that does not come in halves. Ain't no Khalifa there, not in the pineal. The pineal is Ahad. Clap on your side of the computer. Kul huwa Allahu Ahad. See, Allah operates through the Ahad principle, not through the division principle. He is singular. And now, and what we mean by singular is that he is absolutely unique. Nothing can be compared to Allah. You can't say Allah is like, no, he's not like the king. No, he's not like the Pope. No, he's not like the Imam or the Mufti. No, he's not. You can't compare Allah to anything or anybody or any idea. That's how beautiful this mushaf is. These explanations from Al-Quran. That's how beautiful they are. Please listen to that exchange that we had with our brother this morning, Nadim Haq, and you're going to get much more insight into what I've just said in the last 5 to 7 minutes. So a pineal gland, it says fluoride is deposited here as a result of fluoridated products. And those products include your drinking water, on the most part, that you get from your sink or your bathtub or wherever you're getting your water from in the house, fluoridated. You know, they put a bunch of fluoride in swimming pool water. Why did they do that? You're not going to drink it. And if you are going to drink it, it's even worse because it's a toxic. It's toxic. It's a poison. Fluoride is a poison. They have to tell that to you on the side of your toothpaste tube, especially for little children. Do not swallow. If swallowed, take immediately to the emergency room. But they tell you at the same time, yeah, it's safe. You can brush your teeth with this. You know you're going to swallow some of it because they really don't care. Boy, when you begin to understand what the schemers of this world have put together as a master plan for ruling the masses of people on this planet, whether you live or die, many of them now are hoping that we die because they have postulated that there are just too many people on planet Earth right now. We don't need all these people. We have AI now. We don't need all this stray material around here. So that's your fluoride. It calcifies the so-called third eye, which brings you into a level of vision and insight that this world cannot teach you. Only Allah can instruct this level of your psychic development. Both the pituitary and pineal glands secrete a liquid substance which runs down the back, is deposited in the area of the sacrum bone. That's the one at the very bottom of your spine, the sacrum bone. And due to the ability of meditation, concentration, and contemplation, and I say that the three of those working in tangent with each other is what equals what the Quran is calling as-salat. If you don't understand, then you need to get my 3 books on what is the salat, and I break it down consonant for consonant, concept for concept. And once you finish reading it and understanding it, you're going to know that it is not a physical ritual. It can involve physical movements to enhance the experience of those energies being able to be elevated from the bottom energy up to the top pineal gland activation energy. That's an energy that's going up and down, just like they gave you in the fairy tale called Santa Claus. Saint Claus, Claus, Colossum, Khalas. That means don't do anything else to it. Leave it be. You start adding to it, you're going to mess up. He won't make it back up the chimney to the roof. Santa, I'm talking about. You try to do something to interrupt his coming back up, to spread joy to the world through the gifts that he came to distribute to all of the little people. Oh man, first of all, don't light the fire as he's climbing down. Don't light the fireplace on fire while Santa's trying to get his big body down that chimney. Don't do that. And don't let the children be awake. See, your conscious mind is not awake during this process because it's a meditative process that involves concentration and contemplation. You are actually developing a template for something. A template for something. This is what salat means. You're supposed to walk away with a template. You don't know what template means? Look that word up. You see the word temple in there. You also see something that suggests that it is temporary. You know where your temples are? Yeah. You're trying to at least get back there because that's where the template is. Feeding the energies that will eventually contribute to the supra intuitive process that can cause the human intellect to rise above and beyond the intellect itself, that choosing ability in the brain. You have to go beyond that and tap into something that will allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to choose for you. Wouldn't that be groovy if Allah could be making your choices? But how can Allah make our choices? By you just studying the Huda, studying the guidance. That's Allah making your choices for you because he knows best. We say he's the best of knowers, right? The best of planners, the best all of these things. Well, then why wouldn't we go to his book of guidance to do what he asks us to do and cut the middleman out? Cut the guru out. Cut the soothsayer out. Go straight to Allah in his word, moving along. So that energy going all the way down from the pineal gland, from those two glands, the pineal and the pituitary, they go down the spine, literally. There's a liquid emanating from those two glands. That's what glands are, that which secretes liquid. It goes down all the way until it reaches the bottom level of the backbone. And it gathers there, it waits there in what some Eastern people call Kundalini. Kundalini, which needs to be awakened. And they speak about Kundalini as a serpent that's wrapped. This is all metaphorical. There's no snake in your belly. But it's a Kundalini energy that is dormant at the bottom of that particular area of the back. And that if you do these particular three things, meditation, concentration, and contemplation, and Allah gave us the perfect book of guidance to do these three important things on. Meditate on the Quran, it's called al-dhikr. Concentrate on the Quran, it's called bringing the most essential concerns to the forefront of the brain, into the frontal lobes of the brain. Bring the most important. Centralize, see, concentration, centralize. What does Allah say about the salat? He mentions salatul wusta, and guard the middle salat. Middle, where is that? The one in the center. What is that? Anything that represents your central concerns as a human being. You're going to find out that your central concerns are not Black Lives Matter. Your central concerns is not you being Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or Independent. Those are not your central concerns. The human being's central concerns are always related to that which improves upon your true human identity and worth. That's what we're talking about here. What is human constitution? They can't touch this in any of those college and university classrooms. Let's continue. So this activity is able to redirect those fluids that initially came down the spine. It conditions those fluids, chemically speaking, to go back up the spine during these processes: meditation, concentration, contemplation. And it begins to go back up the spine like Santa Claus goes back up to the roof. And they go towards the pineal gland, not the pituitary gland. It goes strictly towards the pineal gland. And this is what the Quran refers to as the so-called rising up to the salat. You think it's just talking about standing for salat. Again, that's not what it's talking about. Talking about the raising up of those energies. When the fluid becomes activated in the pineal, a level of consciousness becomes activated in the brain, leading to the supra-intuition within the individual. Every one of us has the capacity for not only intuition, every baby is born with intuition, but it's faulty. Why you cry every time I come into the room, you newborn baby? It's been 2 weeks now. I've been here every day. Uncle, whoever, I'm here every day. And every time I come in front of you, you start crying. What's that? I didn't even do that. I don't even know you. But in the baby's weakened sense of intuition, being able to figure things out with its emotions, somehow there's a signal coming from you that says you are dangerous. You're a bad man, and you're not. So the intuition on the base level can be faulty, is all we're saying. That power and that recognition needs to rise up to become supra-intuition. And when it becomes supra-intuition, man, your hit and miss rate is almost 100% hit. This is what Allah blessed the prophets with, the seers in history, to be able to see these things in their single eye and say, no, let's not go that way. Let's not agree on this particular methodology or this particular agreement with this particular tribe or this particular opponent. Let's not go that way. What's causing them to do that? Supra-intuitive processes in the brain, in the nervous system. Some of our grandparents and great-grandparents had that ability. So in Surah At-Takathur, which is Surah 102, beginning with Ayat 5, look at what Allah says. كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ إِلْمَ الْيَقِينَ كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ إِلْمَ الْيَقِينَ. Translated into English, nay, were you to know with a certainty of mind, then they put in brackets, ye would beware. I don't see any brackets up here in the Arabiya. All it says is you don't know, were you to know with a certainty of mind. That's it. The translators are saying you would beware. Let's look at Ayah 6. لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمَ. You shall certainly see hellfire, as they translate it. Number 7. ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. Again, you shall see it with certainty of sight. So, Ayn al-Yaqeen, Ayn means eye. If Allah were talking about 2 eyes, like most of us have in our heads, it would say Aynain. It would use the suffix Ayn. Aynain, that's 2 eyes. That's in the Quran also. Allah said, have we not given you 2 eyes? A nose and 2 lips or whatever, whichever way it goes. But that would be 2 eyes. So if it's not speaking about 2 eyes, it's speaking about a singular eye, then how can it be talking about the eyes in your head, in your forehead? No, the certainty of sight is being registered with the single eye. The Bible speaks about the same single eye from the mouth of Jesus in the New Testament. And he said that it is the single eye, vision through the single eye, that makes you whole. You know what whole means? You know how it's given to you in the Quran? It makes you Muslim. That's what the word Salam means. Muslim, one who is whole, one who is complete. How do you become complete? By registering those energies in the central part of the brain. Through what? Those processes that I mentioned earlier. Beginning with meditation, you got to quiet out all of the noise. You got to shut out all of the noise and the confusion that the world invites into your mind. We're going to be doing some actual hands-on examples and demonstrations of the proper performance of as-salat as the Quran gives it. So be aware of that. That's why you need to jump on this Nunetics train now before all of this stuff disappears. And you'll only get the 2-minute shorts on YouTube. I keep telling you it's coming. Believe me. If I said it, believe me. All right. So certainty of sight. Then lastly, ayat 8. ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. Then shall you be questioned that day about the joy. And here comes another bracket. You indulged in. It doesn't say that here. It says, then you shall be questioned that day about the joy. Al-Na'im is joy. What Allah put in Al-Fatiha. And Amta alayhim. That's from Na'im. El-Amta, Amta. And they call it grace. That's joy. You don't indulge in joy. You indulge in foolishness and lasciviousness and lustfulness and all of those things you indulge in, over sexuality and over pompousness and big-headedness, all of that you can indulge in, but you can't indulge in Na'im. Na'im represents the height of human civility. How a human is to come into his civilized posture based on his connection with Allah's word, his kalam. That's what that is. That's why it's the 6th surah of the Quran. From that same root. Someone tell me what the 6th surah is real quick, if you know.
The cattle.
Pardon me?
Cattle.
Yeah, what is it in Arabic? You're right.
Anam.
Yes, al-anam. From the same root letters as ni'mah. Thank you very much. Who was that who answered?
Arlene.
Arlene, okay. El-Amin, yeah, okay. So I need to send you a prize for that. Okay, remind me. All right. Yes, el-anam, the cattle. Wow. Now, let's look at the link here. What makes the cattle a good thing? What makes the cattle different than the porcupine that is not in the cattle family? The horse is actually in the cattle family. It's not just the bovine family. You have many other animals, not the skunk. See, el-anam means or refers to those creatures that are soft to the touch. Now you might say, well, there are animals that are soft to the touch. The skunk is soft to the touch. He's got to be in that. No, he's not. Because it's not just being soft to the touch. It is, listen to these two things. This is somebody out there just clap for me for a minute. I can hear you. I can hear you. It's not just being soft to the touch. It's being soft to the touch and also having the ability to become trained or domesticated. You ain't gonna get that out of a skunk. You get it? You'll get it out of a horse, but you won't get it out of a skunk. Not the ability to be domesticated, meaning civilized in human terms. All right. I'm just letting it register very slowly in your brain. You need to study this when you get it. So then shall you be questioned about that level of civilization that you have been brought into due to the activation of the single eye, Ayn al-Yaqeen. When that becomes activated, oh my goodness, you're going to come into supra-intuitive ideas that no person taught. Your mama didn't teach it to you. Your professor didn't teach it to you. Your friends on the street definitely didn't teach it to you. Only Allah could teach it to you because it's cosmic. It's not curriculum, worldly curriculums. Now, in the Hebrew language, their letter for Ayn is ayin. See, it's the same word basically. Ayin. We just say Ayn. So let's look at what the Hebrew folks are saying to themselves, because they're not really teaching this to us. But it's okay. We have access. And sometimes access is just as good, even better than possession. Quoting my wife, Kariem-Abdul Salaam. Sometimes access is as good as, or even better Then when you have possession now, you gotta really live up to you gotta make sure those bills are paid on that thing that you possess. But if I rented a car, I have access to, a Tesla if I want to. I can give it back at the end of the week and still do what I want to do with a Tesla. See? So we have access to the Hebrew. We have access to the Arabic. We're not Arabs, but we have access. We have access to English. We're not British, but we have English. So all of these languages running through our brains are access ready. The Hebrew word for I is also ayin. So just from the name of this letter, we can understand that it symbolizes the world of sight. Oh, the world of sight. However, it does not only refer to regular physical sight. According to the wisdom of Kabbalah, we'll get into that at some point in the future, through regular physical sight, we can reach an internal and spiritual form of sight. So they have the science of how to connect to the physical sight, and that's just by studying the fitra of the eye and what the eye and what vision represents. So that means you instructors out there, you have to take what I'm saying here and say, let me now go study the physical eye, just like Kareem studied the physical brain. The word ayin is actually in the word brain. BR-AIN. And when you study the brain just a little bit deeper, you're going to find out that the eyes are actually an extension out of the brain. They're actually one component. The brain, and the brain is literally connected through ligaments to the eyes, to both eyes. Just like in that movie, Mars Attacks. If you ever saw that, you see little creatures, Martians running, and they had these big skulls, big brains, right? But they were connected to the eyeballs. See? So again, it doesn't only refer to regular physical sight, as we would think, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah. Through regular physical sight, we can reach an internal and spiritual form of sight. Someone who has the letter ayin in their name is a big-hearted person, listen carefully, with a constant desire to help others. They identify and empathize with the distress of the unfortunate. Now, that's a meaning that's built into the letter ayin also. Look in your Nunetics book. It has to do with the straining of the eye. See, when the eye is straining, it's because it is attempting to come into greater insight. When your mind's eye is straining on something, oh, I'm trying to figure that out. I need that answer from my college test. And you're trying to figure that out. Sometimes you'll close your eyes. You'll rub your forehead where the third eye is, that area, right? These are fitra-based performances that we're not realizing really what we're doing and why we're doing it. But Allah created your fitra to give some kind of support to the third eye. Right behind that third eye is where you're going to find the pineal gland or the pineal gland. You're doing what the people in Aladdin did with the lamp, because that's your lamp. That's where the flame is. That's where the fire is. You're rubbing the lamp so that you can get all of the possibilities for your life out in the open, and it can begin to serve your interest. That's what the pineal gland energies are designed to do. They're not designed to stay cooped up in you until some guru comes by and teaches you how to meditate. That's not what that's for. It's at your command. But you have to learn how to command. And all of that precious information is given to us within the Mus'haf called Al-Quran. Ayn has to do with straining. Even when there's a problem in the throat where you're choking, or someone has their arm around your neck or something and you can't get proper air, and your eyes begin to do what they do when they're straining while reading, or so much, they begin to turn red. Well, your eyes will turn red also. Your blood vessels will pop out if somebody is standing behind you trying to choke the heck out of you. So ayn represents the eye, yes, but it also represents the straining, because it's not the eye per se that it's speaking to. It's speaking to the straining in the eye or of the eye. Beautiful when you understand it. That's why the word for knowledge has ayn in it. Ilm, ayn, lam, mim. That's the word for knowledge. That means you have to strain to get it. Doesn't just fall into your lap. That's why the word for work, conscious work, has ayn in it. Amal, ayn, mim, lam. Same letters as ilm. But it's not just work. It's work that you have to strain in order to complete it. You don't always like the work, but you got to strain because of the benefit at the end of doing that work that will be coming to you. So there are people without an ego. They are people without an ego. And all they want is to see that things are good and go well for others. Isn't that beautiful? Many of them become teachers or guides. They have a strong imagination and inner strength. In biblical and literary Hebrew, a spring is called a ma'ayan. Ma'ayan. And the same word in Arabic, the same letter ayn, also means fountain or spring. Why? Because of the water that is produced. Just like your straining eyes produce water, just like someone choking out your throat produces water in your eyes. If one looks at a spring from afar, it reflects the sky and appears as if it's an eye seeing the view. This teaches us about creativity and thinking outside the box. That's what your activated pineal brings you into as an energy. How wonderful. The I reflects our emotions. But see, in the pineal, it's the higher emotions. It's not the low-based emotions. It's not lust and greed and all of those emotions. It's the highest level of emotions that everything you choose to do is because it benefits not only you, but it's going to benefit all parties involved. You can't do anything from the cosmic level of insight and vision and emotion that does not benefit all people who consider themselves to have a human constitution. Ain't got nothing to do with no Black Lives Matter or white lives or whites for Kamala and all that foolishness they're trying to feed us now. It has nothing to do with that. Fake divisions of humanity, racism, sexism, chauvinism, classism, all of the isms disappear when you reach this higher level of Quranic insight. According to Eastern wisdom, the eyes also reflect our physical and psychological health. In fact, I'm teaching you about the pineal gland right now. I hope you understand the connections. All right? Physical and psychological health. In fact, there is an entire branch of Eastern medicine based on this concept, and it is slowly gaining recognition also by conventional medicine. Now I'm going to take you through some instances of, no, I'm going to stop where I'm at. My super intuition told me to do that. Don't go any further. They've had enough. You don't want their eyes to become red, studying too much information. So we're going to save this for during the week. Inshallah, so look for a notice in your email box. Probably be Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere like that. And then we'll complete what we have to complete. There's several pages left, as you can see, probably see from my cursor. Yeah, several pages, but this is powerful information I'm about to bring in. Okay, but we're going to stop there and let you guys get a chance to do some other things on this beautiful weather Sunday. Now, if anyone has a quick question or comment, this would be the time to tell me. Let me look at the notes first before you speak. You guys are so swift. Let me take the time to tell you that I am so very proud of each and every one of you. Very proud of each and every one of you. You guys are bringing me the ayat and everything. I'm just talking. And you guys are going into the research. That is wonderful. Yeah. So yes, the Buddhist monks, they meditate. The Christian sages and monks, they meditate. People from all religions have learned to meditate. It's a human instinct, especially when you're going through a little something, to just stop and communicate with your source creator. All right. Okay. Yeah, one connected to your intention and to open up yourself to receive Allah's responses. Yes, it doesn't always feel good to reach that level of clarity. Good point, Noah. That's why they say be careful what you ask for, right? But you don't have to be careful asking Allah. Although Allah does say at one point in the Quran to be a little bit careful about the things you ask for. You'll get it, but it doesn't mean you can handle it. Keep that in mind. Okay. Sounds like somebody's trying to speak. Come on in. Yeah, look at what Hood says. He says that Sufi sheikhs claim you might be speaking to demons. So you have to be careful, hence their guidance. Or is there guidance needed? I guess you put a question mark at the end of this. No, you never need guidance from demons. Demons need guidance from you. They need to know how to come into their ni'mah behavior. Yeah. See, animals that are soft to the touch, they're generally the ones that you can train. So the horse, the cattle, you can train them to pull things behind themselves. You know, think about that. Just do a cursory examination of animals, or Google it, animals that can be trained. Right? Yeah. And you're going to find that it's the ability to be disciplined enough to be trained that this word is speaking to in the Quran. And Amta alayhim, the civilizing grace that Allah allowed us to become inundated by. How do you think the world came out of the way humans used to be, especially in the Western part of the world? 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, these people were completely insane in many places of this world. Some of them today are still completely insane, and they have to be civilized also, but now we have to do it behind closed doors because the majority of the world believes in being civil to each other, being complimentary to each other, being disciplined. See? Whereas one time, it was expected of you to draw your sword upon meeting a stranger and take what he has and be done with it, not even care. The sensitivities were not at the point that we can call them civilized sensitivities. But we've grown into that. That's why you can't say that the world today is worse than it was 1,000 years ago. What kind of history are you studying? America, as bad as it was, is worse than it was during slavery. Are you out of your, I'll even use this on purpose. Are you out of your cotton picking mind? Do you know we were picking cotton across this nation 200 years ago? Huh?
For nothing. Picking it for nothing.
Well, picking it to end up with the blessing we have today. How about that one?
That's a good one then, brother.
Yeah. Say, Allah, I'm glad you chose me for this one.
Yes, sir.
But think about the conditions of the world. You're not in the same world that you were in 50 years ago. Imam Muhammad said the goodness is on the rise. Guess what? I believe him. I'm not promoting the evil that comes across my television tube because they want you to become despondent. They want you to give up hope. Look up the word for Iblis. It means one who gives up hope. So why am I going to become what he's supposed to be? He's supposed to be the one giving up hope on the world. I can't get them. God, I can't get them to be as evil as I want them to be, like they were 300 years ago, like they were when they were just snatching, excuse the expression, niggas off the field and whipping them and raping their women. Yes, does it still happen? Absolutely. But is it happening on the level of what happened in the 15th century, 16th century, and 17th century? No. You know, Klansmen out there pulling you out of your car off of I-95 south. Relatively speaking, it happens almost never now. Stop fooling yourself. Stop wishing that on yourself.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So I'm not hearing any other voices. Silence your phone.
Assalamualaikum, everyone.
Hold on. Alaikum salam.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can. Announce yourself, please.
This is Nawa from New York. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So I wanted to say today was a really good day. I enjoyed the presenter. I kind of had a request. Can we have more people present? And if there was a person or two who I or any of us deem worthy to present for the class, other scientific knowledge that could be relevant and who's also open to tapping into some of this nunetics, could we present that to you or William? And can we do more presentations? because I thought that was just
Mhm. I
really
have been,
interesting to
maybe
hear.
you missed this, maybe you missed a session or two. I have been, I don't want to use the word begging, but I have been strongly encouraging everybody out there in our Nunetics audience to prepare themselves to make presentations. I don't care if those presentations are 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long. You've seen a couple now that have been 15 to 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes long, if you're on that level. But for sure, you can take one letter if you want that you believe that you have a grasp of, or some concept, but make it related to Nunetics in some way. That's all I'm asking. I don't just want to hear what you know from college and all that kind of stuff. Make it what these other presenters have been making what they do. I'm sure when you hear from William Saafir next week, in the wealth building and the wealth training aspects of what we need to be doing in order to survive the oncoming onslaught of those who are not paying attention, you're going to hear him using Nunetics, the principle of Nunetics, but he's going to be giving you the general idea of what he has been learning in order to offset the what do you call that? The side swiping that's about to take place economically in this country and in this world. There's going to be a tremendous level of side swipe, economic side swapping. So if you don't know what to put away, as the Quran says, you know, for a rainy day, as we say, if you don't know how to save, if you don't know how to stop squandering your wealth, if you don't know that money is not meant to be spent, it's meant to be invested. He's going to bring that principle to you next week also. If we don't know these things, then as innocent as we might be in our little witty bitty hearts, we're still going to be decimated and a part of the great elimination that Imam Muhammad spoke about. And why be eliminated unnecessarily? That's the point. So yes, Nawa, prepare yourself and encourage others who you are talking to one-on-one to prepare themselves. You can do a joint presentation.
Yeah.
You see? So let's make that happen. I'm making these Sundays available to each and every one of you who want to do that. If you're not sure what it entails, call William Saafir or email me and ask me. And if I'm not busy, I'll train you in this thing myself. If I am busy, there's several of you who can. No, you're already ready. You're already ready. You heard Kareem earlier. All you gotta do is pick up the phone or the email and say, Kareem, can you help walk me through this? This is easy. This is why you joined. You didn't join to just sit in the bleachers and clap. You joined so that you can learn how to be a khalifa. But you got to be here where we are. You can't be up in the bleachers. You got to be on the field. All right. So I hope that answered your question. Anyone else?
I have a part two to the question.
Yes,
I was also
please.
referring to the speaker at 12 o'clock. I'm sorry.
Nadeem Hawk is his name.
Nadeem Hawk.
Yes,
Yes, Nadeem Hawk. Like if one of us knew someone who was in this field of science, but also speaking from like a religious perspective, so to speak, would it be okay for us to present that person to you and have them present to us? And then also
absolutely, positively. Just make sure that they are vetted by yours truly.
Understood.
Yeah. He had sent me information on himself months ago, so I knew who he was, although I had never met him until today.
Understood.
But yeah, if you have someone that you read about or heard about and you're able to get in contact with them through an email or phone number or something, let them know about this class. For the rest of this year, we want to grow our numbers, but not with knuckleheads.
Definitely not.
With people who are truly interested in this method. Okay? Especially the linguists out there, the people who specialize in language. Look them up, write their names down, look at their YouTube videos and say, oh man, this person here would be a good one to come to our class and present. That's where you all should be right now. So absolutely, positively.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else? Very quickly.
Alaikum
salam, Hassan Abdullah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother, man. Brother instructor, I'm telling you, you God sent to this mission. You raised up out of this community. Well, out of this American experience, this Western experience, like the rest of us. For those of us who were blessed to follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaching and support the community, I mean support it, who took his message forward and lived it as best we could under the circumstances and made it happen, supported with everything that we had, and was blessed to make the transition with his son, Imam Waradeen Muhammad, who, in my opinion, quoting his word as best I can, the second best thing, says Prophet Muhammad. I support that. And with you being blessed with the science of numeretics, to aid us and give us the proper increased understanding of the Holy Quran in human language, my God, Imam Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the same thing, but in different words, that being a new people, completely emptied out and refilled or downloaded with BS, that when the time comes for us to elevate, we would be refilled with the Holy Quran.
Not the Holy Ghost, but the Holy Quran.
No, not the Holy Ghost, the Holy Quran.
Hassan, do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
I have to take 3 minutes break and then I'll come right back. But if you want to keep talking to the audience, do so. I'll be right back to entertain your question.
Thank you very
much.
much.
And your comment. Stand by.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, brother instructor. The instructions or the leadership that God has raised up from our suppression, coming up from triple darkness, being a new people, emptied out. The only thing that was left was the spark of divine. And when the natural order or when the natural word of God responded to that, resonated with that, we begin to evolve and evolve and evolve. And now we have come to, as forcing the world to be recognized, as the Imam said in the scripture, the Bilalian people. Many of us wasn't man or woman enough to support that idea, Bilalians. But now the prophet said Bilal on top of the Kaaba, they called the rest of humanity back to humanity, back to God. And that's our position. We're being refilled with the Holy Quran and with the science of numetic. It's crystal clear and expanded throughout human language. Human being only speak from 7 places of his mouth. The same sound is there, and numetic going to interpret the Holy Quran in his situation. The first speaker, Brother Kareem, he mentioned the fact that Imam Muhammad so and so, wonderful. We cannot forget that. We can't go forward without bringing him with us, because all this is God inspired. Even the magic that Farad Muhammad did among us. The man was a wizard, a giant. But now he established the Holy Quran and told us it was a perfect book. This was our book. But then he still worked his magic. But it worked. It worked. It worked until such time that Imam Muhammad was manifest and held up the book up high and began to teach out it. And raise it up. And his teaching influenced our instructor. And then God allowed it. He didn't condemn it, he allowed it. But from us, we're being prepared. We're being prepared if we just stop looking for love in the wrong places. We looking for other people's approval. God said for every people, he raised up a leader from among them. Our position is to be raised up as the best human example for the whole world, because recorded history doesn't record no other human species that been reduced as low as we were. We were completely emptied out for that one spot. And the word of God, the fitra, began to attract, blow on that word, and from there, that's where we come. Now we blessed. We got the Holy Quran, we got our own mind being shaped by the Holy Quran from among one of us, our own, come to the same life experience. All the rest of that crap, that download, ain't no way in the world you're going to come to a right conclusion with wrong information. It just don't work. You cannot, you got to consider, everything got to be taken under consideration. You cannot come to a right conclusion with wrong information. We've been misled. When I'm talking about we now, I'm talking about mankind, period. Been misled and deceived through wrong information. Don't care how many months.
That's a great T-shirt.
Yeah, brother. Okay, then, brother, you back.
Yes.
But now you the man. And no doubt in my mind, shit, you the man, soldier.
Well,
May Allah reward you with good health and longevity and whatever it is you need to keep this mission going forward.
well, what
The
I need
God
to
is
do
my
is
witness.
I need to just keep on my safety helmet because
Yeah, okay. Well,
no matter what I hear about me, you know, it's not the same. And I think it's in a particular hadith also that says it might be okay for another person to give you laudatory comments, but it's not good for the person themselves to give themselves laudatory comments because Allah knows us better than we know ourselves.
yes.
And I know how much further along the line that I have to go in terms of reaching people with this message. And I have found out that it works best for me to take all of the emphasis off of me as a personality or as a so-called leader, like some people like to do. I'm the new leader of, okay, well, are you leading yourself? Prove it to me by showing me where your family is right now. Show me how far you've led your family. Forget the community of W.D. Muhammad and all that other stuff you're claiming. Show me how far you've led yourself and your immediate household. And let me have a conversation with them about how great a leader you are. And if you can't convince me through what you've been doing to and for them, I don't want to hear nothing else from you. And I put that demand on me first. You can come and talk to any one of my children. There are 11 of them running around here, minus 2 right now who have passed. Talk to any of the others. I give you their emails, I give you their phone numbers, and say, how is your dad as a father? How is your dad as a so-called breadwinner? How is he as far as, helping you meet the needs and the challenges of the times and having a conversation with him? Is he helping you to figure life out? I give you any one of their, means of communication. You can ask them. But
Yes,
that's not even my pride and joy. My pride and joy is in bringing more and more information, bringing more and more ilm, knowledge, bringing more and more Quranic reference. See, what I want to become expanded because I'm concentrating on it is the Quranic wisdom. Not me. I'll just outgrow you if you keep concentrating on me, because whatever you give your attention to does what, Hassan?
It increased.
That's right. I don't need any increase. I'm good right where I'm at. But what needs to be increased is our level of insight into Al-Quran. So
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
I'm here to help
Well,
you concentrate on that as your central focus.
thank you.
All
And I
right.
appreciate that. And I'm so thankful. I know I come straight from hell. Straight from it. I'm so glad. I thank God for putting up with me. And I pray, and I need all the help I can get from God and everybody else. But now I'm a work in progress.
Well, that's somebody else that came straight from hell. And that's not what I know about you.
Well, I was searching. That's why I wind up here.
I understand what you're saying, but I disagree with your contention that you came straight from hell.
Okay. Well, I give you credit for having better insight into spirituality
Yeah, it's
than me, brother.
not my insight. I'm just coming from the Quran. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Certainly, we have created the human being from the most excellent of organizational designs.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you.
Wherever else you stopped on the journey, that's on you.
I was misinformed.
You didn't come from there. I hear you, my brother. That's why I love you. I love you, man.
May Allah reward you with good health, longevity,
Yes.
and whatever it is that you need to keep going forward with this mission. It's a mission that calls humanity back to nature.
Yeah.
Come back to the one.
Yeah.
It's universal.
Yes,
And they got the Quranic support and science and the believers who support that.
And all we need now is the support of more and more true humans. So whatever you can do out there in the audience as far as support, financial or encouragement or whatever you can throw this way, we can use it, because I'm not intending to depend on any governmental structures, any academies. I'm not trying to go to anybody for any help that can be done by us. So I know all of us are in, relatively bad financial straits and that kind of thing, and it might get worse for you. But I'm telling you right now, just as surely as I'm sitting here talking to all of you, that if you give better support to Nunetics Institute, it's going to help your individual situation also improve. Trust me when I tell you that there are some things that are in the works right now that when they become available to all of you, you're going to be very, very happy and proud that you stuck with this particular method. As Nadim suggested earlier in the earlier call, which both of these should arrive about the same time on YouTube, another hour or so, he recognized that this is the new, I don't like to call it a renaissance, but this is the new flowering of the Quran. Imam Muhammad gave it in a different way. He called the Quran the promised reading. That means it hadn't gotten here yet.
That's right.
Not even when he was teaching. The promise, a promise is a guarantee of something to come. So the understanding that we are attempting to share with you, and I comb through hill and dale. You know I do. I bring you information from parts of the world and parts of history that I know you're not familiar with. And that's what's causing you to rapidly excel. See? So all you have to do is just keep following the breadcrumbs. I'm showing you where I'm getting stuff. I'm giving you names and pages to go to, books to go to, people to listen to. Anybody I bring before you, don't make it a one-stop shop, especially for Nadim Haq and other people that I will be bringing before you, because these people are treasures. Omar Ramahi is another one. These people are treasures in our presence. No one person can do it by themselves, but it takes a conglomeration of people who think alike. These are the new thinkers in the world right now. They're the new thinkers on the block. They're not stuck on traditional Sunni, Shia, or whatever other ideas have come across the plate in the last 1,000 years or so. They're not stuck on that. They're not stuck on these ideologies and these philosophies and all of these other things, and you have to be the Sunni or Shia and all that. We're stripping all of that stuff down until you can get back to the bare bone fitra. That's what we want, the fitra. We're not Quran only Muslims. We're not any of that stuff, those terms that they're inventing to keep us divided. We're not any of that. We are what the fitra is. We're born out of the fitra. And it's really that simple. So listen, I got to go, folks. I've been keeping you over time and trying to get you out of here on time for a change. All right. So I thank you all for being with us. I thank you all for having the tenacity and the fortitude to stay with this information, even though much of it you might not be understanding right now. But I guarantee that if you stick with it and keep paying it attention, it's going to grow and grow and grow and become a significant force for change, positive change in your lives. So with that said, I thank you. Thank you, Bayin. I'll be looking for the notes from you to send out in the replay. Okay. And keep pushing ahead. As I greet you in the greetings of peace that obligate each and every one of us to keep the peace. Salamun alaikum to you all.
Alaikum
Salam. Shukran. Thank you so much. What a wonderful class.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
My pleasure. It's hard to leave you guys. But we'll see each other in another few days, inshallah. All right. Peace.